She never imagined humiliation would find her in a place designed to make people feel untouchable. Some wounds are invisible, others unfold in front of strangers who pretend not to see, and sometimes a single act of kindness changes the direction of two lives forever. Before we begin, if stories like this matter to you, please consider subscribing to the channel. It's free. It helps us a lot. And now, let's begin. The sound of crystal glasses clinking echoed through the marble lobby of the Langston Grand Hotel. Everything in that place whispered wealth. The chandeliers, the polished floors, the guests who moved as if the world had been designed specifically for them. Evelyn Carter stood near the concierge desk, holding a thin clipboard against her chest, her shoulders stiff with practiced composure. She had learned how to stand like that, invisible, yet alert. Present, yet unnoticed. Temporary staff. Event support. One night only. That was what the badge clipped to her blazer said. Evelyn Carter, Event Services. No last name mattered here, only utility. "Excuse me?" A sharp female voice sliced through the air. Evelyn turned instantly, already apologizing before she fully understood what was happening. "Yes, ma'am?" The woman stood tall, wrapped in designer silk, her lips curved in a polite smile that never reached her eyes. "I asked for champagne, not whatever this is." "Oh." She gestured toward the glass Evelyn had just placed on a silver tray beside her. Evelyn glanced down. Her stomach tightened. "It's the Dom Perignon you requested, ma'am. From the—" "Well, then, perhaps you should learn to pour it properly," the woman interrupted, her voice calm, controlled, and deliberately loud. Nearby conversations softened. Heads turned slightly, just enough to watch. Evelyn felt the familiar heat creep up her neck. "I'm sorry," she said quietly. "I'll replace it immediately." The woman let out a soft laugh. "Oh, no. I think the damage is done. Honestly, they really should screen who they allow to work events like this." She scanned Evelyn from head to toe. "Some people just don't belong in places like this." The words landed like a slap. Evelyn froze. For a moment she considered defending herself, explaining, reminding the woman that she was human. Instead, she did what survival had taught her. She lowered her gaze. "I'll take this away," Evelyn said. As she reached for the glass, the woman shifted suddenly, causing champagne to spill over the rim and onto the pristine marble floor. "Oh dear," the woman said sweetly. "Look what you've done." A murmur rippled through the lobby. Evelyn's breath caught. "I'm so sorry," she whispered, already reaching for a cloth. "You should be," the woman replied. "This floor alone costs more than your annual income." That was when a man's voice cut through the tension. "That's enough?" It wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. The authority in it was unmistakable. The woman turned, startled. A tall man stood a few steps away, one hand casually resting in the pocket of his tailored suit. His expression was calm, unreadable, but his eyes were sharp, focused. Nathaniel Reed. Everyone in that room knew the name. CEO, investor, one of the wealthiest men in the country. The woman's posture shifted instantly. "Oh, Mr. Reed," she said, her tone transforming. "I didn't realize—" "I did," Nathaniel said quietly, "and I've seen enough." His gaze moved from the spilled champagne to Evelyn, who still knelt on the floor, frozen mid-motion, then back to the woman. "You spoke to her as if she were disposable." The woman laughed nervously. "I was simply expressing a concern. Standards matter here." Nathaniel tilted his head slightly. "They do," he agreed, "which is why I expect my guests to treat staff with basic respect." A silence fell. Evelyn felt her heart pounding so loudly she was certain everyone could hear it. Nathaniel extended his hand, not to the woman but to Evelyn. "Please," he said gently, "you don't need to clean that." Evelyn hesitated, stunned. Slowly she took his hand. As he helped her stand, their fingers brushed. The contact was brief, accidental, but something shifted. Nathaniel met her eyes, and for the first time that night, Evelyn felt seen. "I'm sorry," she murmured, unsure who the words were for. "You have nothing to apologize for," he replied. The woman's smile faltered. "I believe we're done here," Nathaniel said, his voice cool. "Security will handle the spill." He turned to Evelyn. "Thank you for your work. You handled yourself with dignity." Dignity. The word echoed in her chest. As he walked away, conversation slowly resumed. The moment passed, but Evelyn remained standing there, her hands trembling slightly, because in that instant something impossible had happened. Someone powerful had chosen to see her. Later that night, Evelyn sat alone in the staff corridor, staring at the floor. Her shift was almost over. Her body ached. Her mind replayed the scene over and over. She should have felt relieved. Instead, she felt exposed, because moments like that reminded her of everything she had lost. Once, she had belonged in rooms like that, not as staff, but as a guest, as a professional, as someone with a future, before the accusation, before the headlines, before her name became something people whispered instead of trusted. She swallowed hard, pushing the memories away. She didn't notice someone standing nearby until a shadow crossed the floor. Evelyn Carter. She looked up. Nathaniel Reed stood there, holding 2 cups of coffee. "I hope this isn't inappropriate," he said, offering one, "but I thought you might need this." She stared at him, stunned. I can't," she said quickly. "I mean, thank you, but—" "Just coffee," he said softly. "No expectations?" She hesitated, then accepted it. Their fingers touched again. This time, neither pulled away immediately. And somewhere between the hum of the hotel and the quiet of that narrow corridor, 2 lives began to tilt toward something neither of them had planned. Evelyn Carter didn't sleep that night. She lay on her narrow bed in the small apartment she rented by the month, staring at the ceiling as memories slipped through the cracks of her carefully built walls. Nathaniel Reed's voice echoed in her mind. "You handled yourself with dignity." Dignity! She hadn't heard that word used in reference to her in years. Her phone buzzed on the bedside table. She ignored it at first, assuming it was another automated message from the staffing agency. When it buzzed again, she sighed and picked it up. Unknown number. "This is Nathaniel Reed. I hope this is still Evelyn Carter's number." Her breath caught. She sat up abruptly. "Yes, it is." 3 dots appeared almost immediately. "I apologize if this is too forward. I wanted to thank you again for your professionalism last night, and I was wondering if you'd join me for coffee tomorrow morning. Proper coffee this time." She stared at the message. Every instinct she had screamed no. Men like him didn't invite women like her for coffee, not without expectations, not without complications. And she had learned, painfully, that proximity to power often came at a price. "I don't think that would be appropriate," she typed. A pause. Then, "I understand. In that case, allow me to be inappropriate for just one question. Why did you look like someone who had already lost everything, and yet still stood back up?" Her fingers hovered over the screen. "Because the truth was dangerous. Because I didn't have a choice," she replied. Another pause, then coffee. "As 2 people who understand survival, no labels." She exhaled slowly. "1 coffee," she typed, "nothing more." They met at a small cafe just outside the city center. It was quiet, warm, ordinary. Nathaniel arrived first, dressed simply, no suit, no watch that screamed wealth. Evelyn noticed anyway. She always noticed details. "You didn't have to come," he said as she approached. "Yes, I did," she replied. "Otherwise, I would have wondered why you asked." He smiled faintly. "I'm glad you did." They sat. For a few moments, neither spoke. "Do you always rescue people in lobbies?" Evelyn asked finally, her tone dry. Nathaniel chuckled softly. "Only when they're being unfairly attacked." She raised an eyebrow. "You don't know that." "I know cruelty when I see it," he said, "and I know strength when it refuses to become cruel in return." She looked down at her coffee. That strength gets expensive, she murmured. Nathaniel leaned back, studying her. May I ask what you did before working events? Her jaw tightened. You may, she said carefully. I may not answer. He nodded. Fair. She took a breath. I had a career, she said quietly, one that required trust, intelligence, discretion. And I was accused of something I didn't do. The words felt heavy in her mouth. What kind of accusation? He asked. She shook her head. Enough to destroy everything, not enough to put me in prison, the worst kind. Nathaniel's expression darkened. I'm sorry. Most people say that, she replied. Then they ask what I did wrong. I won't, he said. She looked up, startled. I don't need to know, he continued. I need to know who you are now. Something in her chest shifted. They talked for hours, about nothing, about everything. She teased him for ordering oat milk without realizing it came unsweetened. He admitted he had no idea how to relax. At one point she laughed, a real laugh, and immediately covered her mouth in surprise. Nathaniel noticed. I like that sound, he said. She blushed. I don't use it often. You should. Over the next few days, coffee became lunch, lunch became walks. Walks became moments neither of them knew how to define. He never asked for more. She never offered explanations. But something was growing, slowly, carefully. Then one evening, Nathaniel hesitated before speaking. There's something I need to ask you, he said. Evelyn stiffened, he noticed. I have an obligation, he continued. A wedding. Her stomach sank. My ex, he added quickly. She's marrying someone else. Evelyn forced a polite smile. That's wonderful for her. It's not, he said flatly. But I need to attend, she nodded. And I need someone to come with me. Silence. You want me to be your date? She said. Yes. No. I thought you might say that. She stood. This is exactly the kind of situation I avoid. I know, he said. That's why I'm asking honestly. She hesitated. Why me? Nathaniel met her gaze. Because you won't pretend to be something you're not. Her heart pounded. And because, he added softly, I don't want to go alone. She swallowed. What happens after? She asked. Nothing, he said, unless you want something to happen. The room felt smaller. Just one night, he said. No lies, no expectations. She closed her eyes. One night couldn't change everything. She had already lost everything once. All right, she said quietly. One night. Nathaniel smiled. And somewhere deep inside, Evelyn Carter felt the first crack in the armor she had spent years building. The dress wasn't expensive. Evelyn knew that the moment she slipped it over her shoulders, but it fit her as if it had been waiting. She stood in front of the mirror, fingers trembling slightly as she adjusted the fabric at her waist. The woman staring back at her looked unfamiliar, not because she was pretending to be someone else, but because she had forgotten what it felt like to be seen this way. You look like trouble, Nathaniel said softly from behind her. She turned too quickly, her heel catching on the edge of the rug. Oh, she gasped. He reached out instinctively. His hands found her waist, solid, warm. For a brief moment, neither of them moved. Her breath hitched. I'm sorry, she whispered, though she wasn't sure why. You keep apologizing for gravity, he murmured. It's not your fault. She laughed despite herself. His hands lingered a fraction of a second longer than necessary before he stepped back. The space between them felt louder than words. Are you ready? He asked. No, she said honestly, but I'll go anyway. He smiled. That might be the bravest thing I've heard all week. The Langston estate rose like something out of a dream. White stone, perfect symmetry, guests arriving in sleek cars, laughter spilling into the night. Evelyn's chest tightened as they stepped inside. She felt it immediately, the weight of old ghosts. Nathaniel noticed. Stay with me, he said quietly. If at any point you want to leave, we leave. She nodded. As they entered the ballroom, conversation slowed. Eyes turned, not because of him, because of her. Nathaniel's hand brushed against hers. Accidental, intentional. He didn't pull away. Neither did she. "This place is beautiful," she said softly. "It's cold," he replied. "You warm it." She glanced at him, surprised. "Careful," she said. "You might start sounding sincere." "I gave that up years ago," he said. "Tonight, I'm honest." They laughed. For a moment, it almost felt easy. Then she saw her. Catherine Langston, the bride, elegant, controlled, watching them with careful interest. Nathaniel's jaw tightened. "Do you want to meet her?" he asked. Evelyn hesitated. "Not particularly." "Good," he said. "She doesn't deserve your time." They moved through the crowd, exchanging polite smiles. Evelyn noticed the way people looked at her, curiosity layered with judgment. She had felt this before, right before everything collapsed. At the bar, Nathaniel leaned closer. "You're doing well," he said. "I feel like I'm standing on a fault line." He smiled gently. "Then let me be the ground." She looked at him, really looked at him, the man everyone assumed had everything, and saw something fractured beneath the surface. "You're not as untouchable as they think," she said quietly. He met her gaze. "And you're not as broken as you believe." Something passed between them, unspoken, unavoidable. Later, on the terrace, the air was cooler. Evelyn leaned against the stone railing, exhaling slowly. "I don't belong here," she said. Nathaniel stepped beside her. "You belong wherever you choose to stand." She shook her head. "They'll find out." "Find out what?" he asked. "That I'm not untarnished." He frowned. "Evelyn, there are things about me that don't fit into rooms like this," she said. "Things people don't forgive." Nathaniel was quiet for a moment. Then he said, "Neither do I." She turned to him. He continued, "I built an empire so no one could ever control me again. But it didn't make me free." She softened. For a second the world seemed to pause, and in that stillness something needed to be said. If this story is touching you in some way, you're not alone. This channel exists for people who feel deeply. Evelyn reached for Nathaniel's hand. This time it wasn't accidental. Inside, laughter rose suddenly. A voice cut through the air. "Well, this is unexpected." Evelyn's blood ran cold. She turned slowly. Harold Langston stood near the entrance to the ballroom, older, powerful, watching her with narrowed eyes. Recognition flickered. Then calculation. Nathaniel stiffened. "You know him," he said quietly. Evelyn swallowed. "He knows me?" she replied. Harold approached, smile thin. "I almost didn't recognize you," he said. "You've changed." "I had to," she answered evenly. Catherine appeared beside him. "Do you two know each other?" she asked, her tone deceptively sweet. Harold chuckled. "Oh, yes. Evelyn and I share a history." Nathaniel's gaze sharpened. "What kind of history, Huive?" "La boisture." Harold waved dismissively. "An unfortunate misunderstanding, a long time ago." Evelyn felt the room tilt. "This isn't the place," she said quietly. Harold leaned closer. "It never is," he whispered. "Yet here we are." Nathaniel stepped forward. "That's enough." Harold raised an eyebrow. "You might want to ask her why her career ended so abruptly," he said smoothly, "before you bring her into your world." Silence rippled outward. Eyes turned. Evelyn's chest tightened. This was how it always began. Nathaniel looked at her, not with doubt, with trust. "Is it true?" he asked gently. She nodded. "I was accused. I was never proven guilty." And?" Nathaniel pressed. "And I was never allowed to defend myself." Nathaniel turned back to Harold. "Then I suggest you step away," he said coldly, "before you embarrass yourself." Harold's smile faltered just for a moment. Then he laughed. "This isn't over," he said. Evelyn's hands shook. Nathaniel squeezed them. "It is for tonight," he said. "And you're not alone." She looked up at him. Something inside her broke open, not pain, relief. Later, as the music softened and the crowd thinned, Evelyn found herself laughing again. Real laughter. Nathaniel spun her gently on the dance floor. She stumbled. He caught her. Their faces were inches apart. "Careful," she whispered. "I am," he replied. "I'm being very careful not to fall in love." She smiled sadly. "Too late." He kissed her then. Soft, uncertain, real. And the world changed. The kiss lingered longer than either of them expected. Not because it was desperate, but because it felt earned. When they finally pulled apart, the noise of the reception seemed to rush back all at once. Laughter, music, glasses clinking, reality. Evelyn's heart was racing. "This complicates things," she said softly. Nathaniel smiled faintly. "I had a feeling it might." She searched his face for regret. She didn't find it. Instead, she saw resolve. They didn't speak about the kiss right away. They didn't need to. Something had shifted, not loudly, not dramatically, but irrevocably. And somewhere across the room, Harold Langston watched them with careful interest. The next morning, Evelyn woke with a strange sensation of safety. It confused her. She lay still, staring at the pale light slipping through the curtains of her apartment, replaying the way Nathaniel's hand had rested at the small of her back, protective but not possessive. Her phone buzzed. "Nathaniel, I hope you slept." She smiled despite herself. "I did," she replied. "That might be your fault." A moment passed. "Then I'll take responsibility." She laughed quietly. That laugh disappeared an hour later, when the email arrived. Subject: urgent. Prior employment verification. Her breath caught. The sender was a consulting firm tied to the Langston family. Her fingers trembled as she opened it. They were digging. Nathaniel sensed something was wrong the moment she arrived at his office later that afternoon. She stood near the window, arms crossed tightly, gaze distant. "They're looking into me," she said without preamble. "Who?" he asked. "The Langstons." His jaw tightened. "Harold." She nodded. "He won't confront me directly," she continued. "He'll do what he always does, question my credibility, whisper. Let other people connect the dots." Nathaniel stepped closer. "Tell me what happened," he said gently. "All of it?" She shook her head. "Not yet." He hesitated, then nodded. "All right." That trust nearly broke her. They went for a walk instead, away from glass walls and power. The city felt ordinary again. "I was good at what I did," Evelyn said suddenly. "Very good." "I believe you." She smiled sadly. "I worked in compliance, risk analysis. I flagged something I shouldn't have." Nathaniel stopped walking. "You reported corruption." She met his eyes. "And someone very powerful didn't appreciate it." "Harold," he said. She nodded. "He accused me of falsifying documents. It was enough to end my career, not enough to hold up in court." Nathaniel's hands curled into fists. "Why didn't you fight it?" "I tried," she whispered. "But no one wanted the truth. They wanted silence." He exhaled slowly. "And now he's afraid." She frowned. "Afraid?" "Because you're standing beside me," he said. "And because truth has a way of resurfacing." She shook her head. "I don't want revenge." "I know," he replied. "You want justice." That evening, Harold Langston made his move. A charity gala, an audience, perfect conditions. Evelyn entered the ballroom beside Nathaniel, her posture steady despite the storm inside her. Whispers followed them. Harold waited until the room was full. Then he raised his glass. "Ladies and gentlemen," he said smoothly, "it's a pleasure to see so many familiar faces, and a few unexpected ones." His gaze settled on Evelyn. "I believe transparency is essential," he continued, "especially when reputations are involved." Nathaniel stepped forward. "Choose your next words carefully," he warned. Harold smiled. "Of course. I simply think people deserve to know who they're standing next to." Evelyn's chest tightened. This was it, or so she thought. A voice cut through the room. Actually, a man said, stepping forward, they deserve to know the truth. Heads turned. The man introduced himself calmly, a former auditor, one of Evelyn's. I was instructed to destroy evidence, he continued. I refused. The room stilled. Harold's face paled. Evelyn's breath caught. The man continued, producing documents. Ms. Carter flagged irregularities that implicated Mr. Langston directly. The accusations against her were fabricated. A murmur swept through the room. Nathaniel turned to Evelyn. You were right, he said softly. You always were. Harold tried to speak. No one listened. Security moved in. Catherine Langston stood frozen, realization dawning slowly. Evelyn felt tears blur her vision. Not because she had won, but because she was finally heard. Later, away from the crowd, Nathaniel found Evelyn alone. She was shaking. He wrapped his arms around her. This time, she didn't pull away. I didn't plan this, she whispered. I know, he replied, but you deserve it. She looked up at him. What happens now? He smiled. Now, he said, we stop pretending. She laughed through tears. Good, she said. I was terrible at pretending. He kissed her again, deeper this time. And for the first time in years, Evelyn Carter felt free. The news didn't wait until morning. By sunrise, Evelyn Carter's name was everywhere, not as a cautionary tale, but as a question. Was she innocent all along? How many lives had been quietly destroyed to protect one man's empire? Evelyn watched the headlines scroll across Nathaniel's tablet as they sat in his kitchen, untouched coffee growing cold between them. She felt detached, like she was watching someone else's life finally catch up to the truth. They're requesting a formal investigation, Nathaniel said, independent, public. She nodded slowly. And you, she asked, what happens to you? Nathaniel met her gaze. Nothing I can't afford, he said, but nothing I want. She looked down at her hands. This was the part she hadn't prepared for, the aftermath. 2 days later, Evelyn stood outside the Langston Grand Hotel again. But this time, she wasn't wearing a badge. She was wearing herself. Nathaniel stood beside her, his hand brushing hers, as reporters gathered. Ms. Carter, one of them called, do you intend to press charges? Evelyn inhaled slowly. I intend to tell the truth, she replied. Nothing more, nothing less. And Mr. Reed? Another asked. Are you involved personally? Nathaniel glanced at Evelyn. She nodded. Yes, he said. Very. The word echoed louder than any denial ever could. Harold Langston's fall was quiet. No dramatic arrest, no public apology, just contracts dissolving, boards distancing themselves, silence closing in. Catherine Langston canceled the wedding. She never reached out to Evelyn. She didn't need to. Justice had a way of speaking for itself. That night, Evelyn packed a small suitcase. Nathaniel watched from the doorway, his expression unreadable. You're leaving, he said. Temporarily, she replied. I need space to understand who I am now. He nodded slowly. I won't stop you. That's why this hurts, she said softly. He stepped closer. I care about you, he said, but I won't cage you with gratitude. Her eyes filled with tears. Why are you so good at this? She asked. Because I've been caged before, he replied, and I promised myself I'd never do that to someone I love. The word hung between them. Love. She kissed him, slow, aching, full of restraint. Then she left. The days apart were harder than either expected. Evelyn found herself missing the way Nathaniel listened, the way he never filled silence with noise. Nathaniel found himself staring at empty chairs, at unread messages, at the space she had occupied without trying. They spoke rarely, but when they did, it mattered. Weeks later, Evelyn stood in a modest office building, signing her name, not on a contract, on a beginning. She had been offered a position, a real one, based on truth. Her phone buzzed. Nathaniel, There's something I need to say to you. No pressure, but it can't wait. She hesitated, then typed back. Where? They met where everything had started, the small cafe. Nathaniel stood when she entered. You look grounded, he said. I feel like myself, she replied. He smiled. I won't ask you to choose me, he said. I won't ask you to stay. She tilted her head. Then why am I here? Because I need you to know, he said quietly, that I love you, not because you survived, but because of who you are when no one is watching. Her breath caught. I don't need you, she said slowly. I know. But I want you, he smiled. So did she. Outside, the city moved on. Inside, two people chose each other. Freely, honestly, without fear, and somewhere in the distance, the last echo of injustice finally faded. Nathaniel Reed had learned how to disappear without leaving. It was one of the first skills he perfected, after money, after power, after success. Evelyn noticed it one quiet afternoon when they were sitting on the balcony of his apartment, the city humming softly below them. You go somewhere else sometimes, she said gently. He looked at her, surprised. I'm right here. Yes, she replied, but not always with me. He smiled faintly, the kind of smile people use when they didn't want to be seen too closely. Old habit, he said. She didn't press him, not yet. The envelope arrived 2 days later, plain, cream-colored. Handwritten address. Nathaniel stared at it for a long time before opening it. Evelyn watched him from across the room. What is it? She asked. He exhaled slowly. From my mother. That alone told her everything. She writes rarely, he continued, only when something can't be ignored. Evelyn stood and moved closer, her hand resting lightly on his arm. Do you want to talk about it? He nodded once. She wants me to come see her, he said. And my daughter. The word landed softly. But its weight was enormous. Evelyn didn't react right away, not because she wasn't surprised, because she was careful. You have a daughter, she said calmly. Yes. How old? 17. That surprised her. I didn't know, she said honestly. No one does, he replied. Not really. They sat at the kitchen table. Nathaniel didn't rush. He never did when it came to this. She was 6 when her mother died, he said quietly. Car accident. Sudden. Brutal. Evelyn felt her chest tighten. I didn't know how to be what she needed, he continued. I thought providing everything would be enough. It wasn't. I worked longer hours, built walls, paid for the best schools, the best therapists. And you? Evelyn asked softly. He laughed once. I disappeared. She reached for his hand. She lives with my mother, he said. Has since she was 10. By choice? Evelyn asked. At first mine, he admitted. Later, hers. Silence settled between them. Why didn't you tell me? Evelyn asked. Not accusing, just searching. Nathaniel met her gaze. Because the moment I do, he said, I have to admit how badly I failed. They drove out of the city the next morning. The house was modest, quiet, filled with memories Nathaniel had avoided for years. His mother hugged him briefly, then looked past him. You brought someone, she said, nodding toward Evelyn. Yes, he replied. This is Evelyn. She studied her carefully. Come in. Nathaniel's daughter was in the garden, headphones on, sketchbook balanced on her knees, dark curls, serious eyes. She looked up when she heard footsteps. Her gaze stopped on Nathaniel. Didn't soften, didn't harden, just closed. This is my daughter, Nathaniel said softly. Amelia. Amelia nodded once. Hi. Her eyes flicked to Evelyn. And who's she? Nathaniel hesitated. Evelyn stepped forward first. I'm Evelyn, she said gently. It's nice to meet you. Amelia studied her longer this time. Dad's friend? She asked. For now, Evelyn replied honestly. Something about that answer shifted Amelia's expression, not trust, but curiosity. Dinner was quiet, careful. Nathaniel tried. Amelia deflected. Evelyn watched, not interfering, not rescuing. After dessert, Amelia stood. "I'm going for a walk," she said. Nathaniel started to rise. "No," Amelia said sharply. "Not you." She glanced at Evelyn. "You can come, if you want." Nathaniel froze. Evelyn met Amelia's eyes. "I'd like that," she said. They walked in silence for several minutes. "You don't look like his world," Amelia said suddenly. Evelyn smiled slightly. "He doesn't look like the man people think he is either." That made Amelia glance at her. "He left," Amelia said bluntly. Evelyn nodded. "I know." "You don't," Amelia snapped. "You don't know what it's like to watch someone choose everything else over you." Evelyn stopped walking. "I know what it's like," she said softly, "to watch someone disappear because they don't know how to stay." Amelia swallowed. "You're not angry at him?" "I am," Evelyn replied, "but I also understand him." Amelia frowned. "That's worse." Evelyn laughed quietly. "Maybe," she said, "but it's also how healing starts." Later that night, Nathaniel stood alone in the kitchen. Evelyn joined him. "She hates me," he said flatly. "She doesn't," Evelyn replied. "She misses you." "That's not the same." "No," Evelyn agreed. "It's harder." He leaned against the counter, exhausted. "What if I ruin her life by trying again?" he asked. Evelyn turned to face him fully. "What if," she said gently, "you ruin it by not trying at all?" His eyes filled. "I don't know how to be a father." She took his hands. "You learn," she said, "the same way you learn to love me. Slowly, honestly, by staying." The next morning Amelia knocked on Evelyn's door. "Can I talk to you?" she asked. Evelyn nodded. They sat on the edge of the bed. "He's different with you," Amelia said. "Yes," Evelyn replied, "and so are you." Amelia hesitated. "Are you going to leave too?" Evelyn's heart tightened. "No," she said firmly, not without saying goodbye, and not without meaning it. That mattered. As they drove back to the city, Nathaniel felt something unfamiliar, not relief, hope, but fragile, dangerous, alive. He glanced at Evelyn. "Thank you," he said. "For what?" "For seeing her before judging me." Evelyn smiled sadly. "I saw you," she said, "and then I saw her." That was when Nathaniel realized something terrifying. Loving Evelyn meant facing every part of himself he had buried. And for the first time, he didn't want to run. The silence between them felt heavier on the way back. Not uncomfortable, but charged. Nathaniel drove with both hands on the wheel, eyes fixed on the road. Evelyn watched the passing landscape, her thoughts tangled between the man beside her and the girl they had just left behind. Amelia. 17 years of distance compressed into one weekend. "She didn't hate me," Nathaniel said suddenly. "No," Evelyn replied. "She tested you." He exhaled slowly. "I deserved it." Evelyn turned toward him. "You still do," she said gently, "but that doesn't mean you won't earn something better." He glanced at her, a ghost of a smile touching his lips. "You're brutally honest." "I promised you honesty," she replied. "Not comfort," he nodded. That was why he trusted her. 2 days later, the call came. Nathaniel was in a meeting when his phone vibrated insistently on the table. He ignored it once, twice. On the third time, something in his chest tightened. He excused himself and stepped into the hallway. "Dad?" Amelia's voice, shaking. "I messed up," she said. "I really messed up." His heart dropped. "Where are you?" he asked, already moving. The police station smelled like disinfectant and regret. Amelia sat on a metal chair, arms crossed tightly, eyes rimmed red. She didn't look at Nathaniel when he entered. He stopped in front of her. "What happened?" he asked quietly. She shrugged. "Nothing you'd care about." Evelyn stepped forward before he could respond. "I care," she said, "and so does he, even if he doesn't always know how to show it." Amelia finally looked up at her. "I skipped school," she muttered. "Got into a fight. They said I was aggressive." Nathaniel closed his eyes briefly. "Were you?" he asked. Amelia swallowed. "Yes." He nodded. Then we deal with that, he said. Together. That word made her flinch. Outside, while paperwork was processed, Amelia exploded. You don't get to say, together now, she shouted. You left. You missed everything. Nathaniel didn't raise his voice. I know, he said, and I can't undo that. Then stop pretending you can fix me, she cried. Evelyn watched them, her chest aching. This was not a scene money could smooth over. This was not power. This was love with consequences. Amelia turned on Evelyn suddenly. And you, she said sharply, why are you here? Evelyn didn't hesitate. Because I believe your father can change, she said, and because I believe you deserve to see that. Amelia laughed bitterly. You barely know him. Evelyn met her gaze. I know what it's like to be abandoned by silence, she said softly. And I know what it costs to forgive too late. That stopped her. That night, Amelia refused to stay with Nathaniel. She went back to her grandmother's house, alone. Nathaniel stood in his apartment later, staring at the city lights, feeling smaller than he ever had at the top of any boardroom. I don't know how to do this, he said quietly. Evelyn leaned against the doorway. You don't have to know, she replied. You just have to stay. He laughed hollowly. I stayed too late once. Look what that did. Evelyn walked toward him slowly. Nathaniel, she said, loving her won't erase the damage, but leaving again will deepen it. He turned to her. And what if I fail again? He asked. What if I fail you? That question cut deeper. Evelyn inhaled slowly. Then we'll know it wasn't fear that stopped us, she said. It was truth. Silence fell. Dangerous silence. The next morning, Evelyn packed a small bag. Nathaniel watched from the doorway, dread tightening his chest. You're leaving, he said. For a little while, she replied. You need space to be her father, and I need to know you're choosing this because you want to, not because I'm standing beside you. He nodded. Pain flickered across his face. I don't want to lose you, he said. Then don't lose yourself trying to keep me, she replied softly. They kissed, slow, uncertain, as if both knew it might be the last for a while. Days passed, then weeks. Nathaniel showed up. Parent-teacher meetings. Therapy sessions. Long, uncomfortable conversations. Amelia didn't soften overnight, but she noticed. One evening, she said quietly, You came back again, he smiled. I will keep doing that, he said, until you tell me to stop. She didn't. Evelyn watched from a distance. She focused on her work, on her daughter, on rebuilding a life that didn't depend on anyone else. Still, at night, she wondered, was love enough when it asked you to wait? The breaking point came unexpectedly. A call from Nathaniel, not panicked, steady. I think I understand now, he said, and I think I'm ready. For what? She asked. For the hardest conversation of my life, he replied, with my daughter, and then with you. Evelyn closed her eyes. Her heart pounded. Where are you? She asked. At the place I should have never left. At the old house, the one filled with echoes. Amelia sat across from Nathaniel, arms folded. You can be angry, he said. I won't defend myself. She stared at him. You always do that, she said. You show up calm, like you're already forgiven. I'm not asking for forgiveness, he replied. I'm asking for time. She swallowed. For what? To become someone you don't have to protect yourself from. Her breath hitched. I don't know if I can trust you, she whispered. He nodded. That's fair. Then he added, but I will spend the rest of my life proving that I'm worthy of it. Tears slid down her cheeks. That was when she broke. Later that night, Nathaniel stood outside Evelyn's building again, not with certainty, with hope. He rang the bell. She opened the door slowly. You came back, she said. I never left, he replied. I just needed to learn how to stay. Their eyes locked. The storm wasn't over, but the choice had been made. Evelyn didn't open the door right away. She stood there, hand resting on the frame, studying Nathaniel's face, as if trying to read everything he hadn't said yet. "You look tired," she said softly. "I am," he replied, "but not lost anymore." That mattered. She stepped aside. "Come in." They sat across from each other, the space between them filled with words waiting to be spoken. "I didn't come to promise perfection," Nathaniel began. "I came to tell you the truth." Evelyn nodded. "I'm listening." He took a breath. "I spent years believing love was something I could outsource," he said. "I paid people to raise my daughter, to care, to fix what I broke." His voice faltered. "And all I taught her was that I could leave." Evelyn felt her chest tighten. "And now?" she asked. "Now I'm staying," he said, "even when it's uncomfortable, even when she pushes me away, even when I'm afraid." Silence followed. Then Evelyn spoke. "I won't compete with your guilt," she said gently, "and I won't disappear to make this easier for you." He met her gaze. "I wouldn't ask you to," she exhaled slowly. "Then we move forward honestly," she said, "all of us." Nathaniel's eyes filled. "Yes," he whispered, "all of us." Amelia didn't welcome Evelyn with open arms the next time they met, but she didn't close the door either. They sat at the kitchen table, awkward and quiet, Evelyn helping with homework, while Nathaniel cooked dinner badly and loudly. "This is burnt," Amelia said flatly. "It's artisanal," he replied. Evelyn laughed before she could stop herself. Amelia looked at her, then smiled, just a little. Weeks turned into routines. Nathaniel showed up every time. Evelyn stayed, not hovering, not fixing, just present. One evening, as they walked back from the park, Amelia spoke without looking at either of them. "You don't act like you're better than us," she said to Evelyn. Evelyn blinked. "I don't feel better than anyone." Amelia nodded. "That helps." It was the closest thing to approval she had ever given. The real test came quietly. A school event, parents everywhere. Nathaniel stood beside Evelyn and Amelia, not as a man of power, just a father. When someone whispered his name, he didn't turn. He stayed. Amelia noticed. Her fingers slipped into his hand, just for a second. He didn't squeeze. He didn't react. He just stayed. Later that night, Amelia knocked on Evelyn's door. "Can I ask you something?" she said. "Of course." "Why him?" Amelia asked. "You could have chosen someone easier." Evelyn smiled sadly. "Because love isn't about ease," she said. "It's about courage." Amelia considered that. Then she nodded. "Okay," she said. "I'll try too." The night Evelyn realized she loved Nathaniel wasn't dramatic. It was quiet. He was asleep on the couch, exhaustion finally winning. Amelia had fallen asleep on the other end, book still open in her hands. Evelyn watched them and understood something simple and terrifying. This wasn't romance anymore. This was home. Months later, at a small gathering, no press, no spectacle, Nathaniel spoke. "I won't promise a perfect future," he said, voice steady. "But I promise to stay when it's hard, to listen when it hurts, and to choose this family every day." Evelyn stepped forward. "I don't need saving," she said. "I need honesty, presence, and love that doesn't disappear." Nathaniel took her hands. "I choose you," he said, "both of you." Amelia rolled her eyes. "Gross," she muttered. Then she hugged them anyway. Under a sky full of quiet stars, Nathaniel kissed Evelyn, not hurried, not uncertain, a kiss that said, "I'm here." And she answered it with everything she was. Some stories end with passion. The best ones end with commitment. Evelyn Carter didn't just reclaim her dignity. She built a family that chose her back. And Nathaniel Reed didn't just learn how to love. He learned how to stay. If this story touched your heart, moved you, or made you believe in love again, please consider subscribing to the channel. It truly helps us continue bringing stories like this. And before you go, tell us, what score would you give this story from 0 to 10? Your heart matters. Your story matters. And we'll see you in the next one.